My time clock said I died at 4:07 a.m. At 4:07 in the morning, the time clock at Glacier Gate Cold Storage printed a receipt that said I was dead. It was one of those narrow thermal paper slips, the kind that curls up at the edges before you can tear it cleanly. At the top was my name, Evan Kline. Under that was my employee number, my shift time, and a line that made me read it 3 times. Employment status: deceased. Then it printed my emergency contact, Maya Kline. Daughter, age 9. Elena Morrow was standing beside me with a paper cup of vending machine coffee. She saw the receipt before I could fold it. "That's not funny," she said. "I didn't print it. Your maintenance. You can make things print anything. Not payroll records." I tried swiping my badge again. The terminal beeped once. Access revoked. Then the metal security gate behind us clicked shut. Overhead, the warehouse intercom gave a soft chime. "Headcount corrected," a woman's voice announced. Elena looked toward the ceiling speaker. I looked at the receipt in my hand. For about 10 seconds, I told myself it was a server problem. That was the comforting explanation. Glacier Gate had merged with a bigger company the year before, and every update somehow made the place worse. Our scheduling app crashed every other week. The inventory scanner called frozen chicken, medical equipment for 2 months. A dead employee record sounded awful, but it still sounded like something it could eventually blame on an overnight patch. Then the camera above the break room door slowly turned away from me. Not broke. Turned. Its little black lens rotated toward the empty hallway. Elena noticed it too. "Okay," she said. "That one isn't normal." I had worked night maintenance at Glacier Gate for almost 11 years. I fixed conveyor belts, freezer doors, pallet lifts, broken sensors, and whatever else stopped moving at 2 in the morning when nobody from corporate answered the phone. I also kept a paper notebook in my back pocket. My dad had been a mechanic, and he taught me not to trust software completely. I wrote down every odd vibration, every recurring alarm, every temporary repair I made. It had saved me more than once. That night it could have saved me too. At 3:51, 16 minutes before the clock decided I was dead, I had cleared an alarm from door 12 in the North Annex. Door 12 belonged to an old blast tunnel that was supposed to be decommissioned. Nobody stored product in there anymore. The company used the space for overflow equipment, broken pallets, and things nobody wanted to throw away. The door sensor had been acting up for weeks. I had been replacing a gasket when the system flagged the door as unsecured. Normally, I would have shut down the area, called the shift manager, and written a report. But I was already on a performance warning. 2 months earlier, I had left early twice because my ex had gotten sick, and there was nobody else to pick Maya up from after-school care. Glacier Gate didn't care why I left. A missed badge scan was a missed badge scan. Another alarm report would have meant another meeting. Maybe another warning. So I used my maintenance override. I cleared the alert without inspecting the tunnel. Then I went back to work. Elena took the receipt from my hand and walked to the supervisor terminal in the shipping office. I followed because my badge no longer opened anything. She logged in under her account. My employee profile came up. My photo was still there. My job title. My address. My daughter's emergency contact. But every field beneath those had changed. Status. Deceased. Effective time. 4:07 a.m. Location of incident. North Annex. Elena stared at the screen. What happened in the North Annex? She asked. I don't know. You were there. Not tonight. She clicked into the access log. At 4:07 a.m., my badge had apparently scanned into door 12. At 4:08 it had scanned out. At 4:09, the system marked me deceased. Then the warehouse radio on Elena's desk crackled. Evan Kline, a man's voice said. Report to North Annex for removal. The voice was low and distorted, like someone speaking through a freezer fan. Elena picked up the radio. Who is this? No answer. I grabbed the handset from her. Who's calling? For a second, I heard nothing but static. Then the voice said, You already left. The radio went silent. Elena called Hank Doran in security. Hank had worked at Glacier Gate longer than I had. He was 60-something, broad in the shoulders, gray around the beard, and still carried a ring of old metal keys even though almost every door in the building used badges now. He answered on the second ring. Elena. Something's wrong with Evan's account, she said. His status changed. There was a pause. Then Hank asked, What time? 4:07. Another pause. This one lasted longer. Elena, Hank said carefully, do not go into the North Annex. I looked at her. What does that mean? Hank ignored me. Lock the office door. I'm coming down. He arrived less than 5 minutes later, breathing harder than he should have been from walking across the warehouse. I held out the receipt. He didn't touch it. He just looked at the words. Then he looked at me. For the first time since I'd known him, Hank looked scared. Not confused. Not irritated. Scared. This is an old system error, he said. What old system? The North Annex still has a legacy control bridge. It talks to the time clock when certain safety alarms are cleared. I cleared door 12. His face changed. You did what? The sensor was bad. You cleared it manually. Yes. Hank rubbed one hand over his mouth. Then he walked to the office door and locked it. Elena folded her arms. You're going to explain this. Hank didn't answer. Instead, he went to the security monitor wall and pulled up the North Annex cameras. The footage was black and white, grainy, and old enough that it looked nothing like the newer HD cameras in the rest of the warehouse. Camera 12 showed the hallway outside the blast tunnel. At 4:07, the screen showed a man walking toward door 12. He wore my dark maintenance jacket. He carried my toolbox. He had my height, my build, even the same limp in his right leg from an old ladder accident. But I had been standing beside the time clock with Alina. The man on the screen stopped in front of door 12. He turned toward the camera. His face was blurred. Then he stepped inside. Alina whispered, "That's you." "No," I said. "It is." The camera feed froze. The hallway light flickered. Then a line of text appeared across the bottom of the screen. One occupant unaccounted FOR. Hank shut the monitor off. "That tunnel has to stay closed," he said. I laughed once. It came out wrong. You think I'm going to stand here while the building says I'm dead? I think you need to leave the property. My badge won't open the gate. Then I'll let you out. And after I leave. Hank looked at the receipt. He didn't answer. That was when I knew he was hiding something. Alina knew it too. She stepped closer to him. "Who died at 4:07. Hank sat down slowly in the security chair. For a while, all we could hear was the warehouse around us. Conveyor motors. Forklifts backing up somewhere beyond the wall. The steady mechanical hum of thousands of pounds of frozen food moving through a building, designed to never sleep. Finally Hank said, "A guy named Wes Price." I had never heard the name. "He was 19, Hank continued. Temporary hire. Worked a week in the North Annex." "What happened?" Alina asked. Hank looked down at his hands. Door 12 failed. This was back in 2009. Before the company remodeled everything. Before the new sensors. He got trapped. Hank nodded. I was a maintenance lead then. The inside emergency release had been sticking. I was waiting on a replacement part. I should have shut the tunnel down. "What did you do?" I asked. "I kept it running." His voice was barely above a whisper. Wes went in to check a fan motor. The door sealed behind him. The alarm came through at 4:07. Alina looked at the North Annex monitor. "And you cleared it." Hank closed his eyes. The time clock showed him clocking out. I thought it was a sensor issue. I thought he'd gotten out another way. "You didn't check?" "No." "What time did you find him?" 6:20. Nobody said anything. Hank continued before either of us could. The company wanted the report cleaned up. They said it was a system failure. They said nobody needed to know the release had been disabled. "You lied," I said. "I changed the work order," Hank said. "I told them the release was functional. I told them we must have ignored the safety procedure." A new sound came through the office radio. A slow knocking. 3 taps. A pause. 1 tap. Hank went completely still. "What is that?" Alina asked. Hank looked toward the hallway. That was Wee's booth signal, he said. He used to do that outside my office when he needed help. 3 taps. Pause. 1 tap. The radio spoke. Hank, a young man's voice said. The door won't open. Hank reached for the radio. I grabbed his wrist. No. The voice came again. This time it was mine. Alina, it said. I'm still in here. She stared at me. The building intercom chimed. Rapid freeze cycle begins in 13 minutes, the automated voice announced. Clear all personnel from North Annex. Hank stood up. We need to get out. No, I said. We need to stop it. You don't know what it is. I know what it's doing. I held up the receipt. It's repeating the old record. It marked me out, then dead. Just like Wee's. Hank shook his head. You don't understand. Then explain it. He pointed toward the monitor wall. Every year around this date, the old system wakes up. A relay inside the North Annex tries to run the old incident protocol. I come in early. I reset it. I keep the bridge offline. And tonight, Alina asked. Tonight, Evan cleared the same alarm I cleared. The silence that followed felt worse than the radio. I thought about 3:51. I thought about how quickly I had clicked through the warning screen. How I had told myself it was just a sensor. How I had not wanted another write-up. The exact same excuse in a smaller form. Alina turned back to the computer. There's a manual override in the blast tunnel, she said. Door 12 has an inside emergency pull cord. Hank nodded reluctantly. If someone pulls it from inside and somebody resets the external safety loop, the rapid freeze cycle stops. Then let's do that, I said. You can't get in, Alina said. Your badge is revoked. She held up hers. I can. No. Evan, you know the control panel. Hank knows the old system. I'm the only one whose access still works. That doesn't make it a good idea. It makes it the only idea. The North Annex was on the far side of the warehouse, past the loading bays and the retired pallet racks. We moved fast, but every time we passed a camera, I caught myself looking up. None of them followed me. Not one. Their lenses tracked Alina and Hank. When I walked beneath them, they shifted toward empty floor. At the entrance to the annex, Alina scanned her badge. The door opened. Inside was a narrow industrial hallway with old white insulation panels and a smell like rust, freezer burn, and wet cardboard. At the end of the hall was door 12. The red warning light above it was already flashing. Alina stepped in front of me. I go in. I pull the cord. You reset the safety loop. What if the door seals? Then you open it. Hank looked at the door but said nothing. I should have stopped her. I should have made Hank go in. I should have called the fire department before any of us stepped into that hallway. But the countdown on the wall display read 8 minutes. And the part of me that still wanted to believe this was a broken machine kept saying, we could fix it like a broken machine. Elena opened door 12. Cold air rolled out around her boots. She stepped inside. For 1 second, I saw the old blast tunnel beyond her. Metal racks, frosted pipes, a blue emergency cord hanging along the far wall. Then the door slammed shut. Elena hit the small window with both hands. Her mouth moved. I couldn't hear her through the glass. The warning light changed from red to white. On the panel beside the door, a message appeared. Compartment empty. Begin freeze cycle. Below it were 2 buttons. Acknowledge. Cancel. Hank whispered, "That's what I saw." What? The same screen. The speaker beside the panel crackled. A young man's voice said, "Just acknowledge it." Hank stumbled backward. "Just acknowledge it," the voice repeated. "Then it goes away." I looked through the window. Elena had reached the blue cord. She pulled it. Nothing happened. The temperature display dropped another 2 degrees. I opened the external control panel with my screwdriver. Inside, the safety loop relay was blackened and old. The same kind of relay I had been replacing all night. I understood then what had happened. The system needed an empty compartment to begin rapid freeze. It needed somebody outside to say nobody was inside. That was the lie. The same lie Hank had told. The same lie I had almost told at 3:51. The radio on my belt came alive. "Elena Morrow is not in the North Annex," the automated voice said. Then it added, "Evan Kline, deceased, has confirmed evacuation." I felt my hand move toward the acknowledge button. If I pressed it, maybe my badge would work again. Maybe the gate would open. Maybe my name would return to the system. It was a stupid thought. But fear doesn't always make you stupid in dramatic ways. Sometimes it just makes the easy option feel reasonable. Then Elena hit the glass again. She looked at me. And I pulled my hand away from the button. I grabbed the warehouse radio. "Attention all Glaciergate personnel," I said. My voice shook at first. Then it steadied. "North Annex door 12 has a live person trapped inside. Elena Morrow is in the blast tunnel." I cleared the door alarm at 3:51 without inspecting the area. That was my error. Do not clear this alarm. Do not enter the annex. Hank stared at me. The speaker hissed. I kept talking. "Hank Doran is here. He has information about a previous death in the same tunnel. His name is being recorded on this channel." Hank looked like I had hit him. Then the voice from the speaker changed. It sounded angry now. Not loud. Just close. "Evan," it said. "You already left." Hank took the radio from my hand. For a second, I thought he was going to shut it off. Instead, he held down the transmit button. "My name is Hank Doran," he said. "In 2009, I ignored the door 12 alarm. Wee's Price was inside. I falsified the report. He did not leave that tunnel. I left him there. The warning light above the door went dark. Not off. Dark, as if something had covered it from inside. The panel in front of me flickered. Compartment occupied. The temperature stopped dropping. "Elena," I shouted. Through the glass, she pulled the blue cord again. This time, the safety relay in my panel clicked. I bridged the two burned contacts with the insulated screwdriver I had used on door 12 earlier that night. The metal sparked against the tip. The external release lever jerked once. "Hank," I yelled. "Hold the red lever down." He ran to the wall control, grabbed the heavy lever with both hands, and pulled. Nothing happened. Then the entire door shuddered. The voice on the speaker returned. Not mine. Not Hank's. The young man's voice. "Thank you," it said. The locks released. The blast tunnel door opened 2 inches. Then 6. Cold air slammed into us hard enough to sting my face. Elena fell forward onto the floor. I grabbed her under the arms and pulled her into the hallway. Behind her, inside the tunnel, I saw somebody standing near the far wall. A young man in a Glaciergate jacket. One hand was wrapped around the blue emergency cord. Then the overhead lights blinked. And he was gone. The fire department arrived 6 minutes later. By then, the rapid freeze cycle had shut down. The old control bridge was dead. The security footage from that night had corrupted itself, except for one short clip of Elena entering door 12. No footage showed me. No footage showed Hank. The investigators found the old relay system, the falsified maintenance reports, and enough archived documentation to reopen the 2009 case. Hank confessed. I confessed too. Not to killing anyone. I hadn't. But I admitted I had cleared that alarm because I was afraid of getting written up. Glaciergate fired me 3 weeks later. Honestly, I expected it. My daughter asked if I was sad. I told her I was. Then she asked whether I had done the right thing. That took me longer to answer. Eventually, I told her yes. I think I did. A few months later, I got a job doing maintenance for a smaller cold storage company outside town. No giant warehouse. No North Annex. No legacy bridge nobody understood. I still keep my old Glaciergate notebook in my toolbox. Last winter, a state investigator mailed me a copy of the original 2009 incident log. Most of it was typed. Most of it was familiar. At the bottom of the page, beneath Hank's old signature, were 2 handwritten lines. The first said, 4:07 a.m. Wee's Price present. The second said, 4:07 a.m. Evan Kline present. The handwriting was mine. The date at the top of the page was 17 years before Glaciergate hired me.